Hi friends, Jeremy Morgan here from Pluralsight. Today we're going to take a coding challenge together. It's free April, and for the entire month, Pluralsight is free to try out. If you've never tried Pluralsight and you want to learn a new tech skill, now's the time to do it. April is Tech Skills Month for us, and today we are at level 2, which is Challenge Yourself. Put your skills to the test with a coding challenge. We'll be going up against real coders, and it's a great chance to show off your chops. So how do you do that? That's what I'm going to show today. There's a new challenge every week in April, and this week's challenge is click. We're going to build a button for a micro interaction. For example, a like button. Our challenge is hosted here at codepen.io. And to get started, you don't need a CodePen account or a Pluralsight account. You can go to the following URL and click on Start a Pen, and it will give you a clean slate to start with this challenge. Here are some ideas from CodePen on what we can do with this button. Okay, let's do the animated button. Okay, so I'm here at CodePen. I've gone to the URL, and we're going to click Start a Pen. Now, as I said, here we go with the clean slate. You don't need a Pluralsight account or a CodePen account. You can see up here, I'm Captain Anonymous. So you could actually just go through this challenge and do this without signing up for anything. So you can just click go and start coding. I'm going to log in. Okay, so now I'm logged in. Now, if you've never been to CodePen before, CodePen is really cool. You can see here we have 3 windows. We have HTML, CSS, and JS. So you just edit the things in that window, and then down here where it says click, this is where you can see what you've built. And you can do this in real time, and it's actually pretty awesome. So to start out, the challenge gives you this little click button here, and we'll just click it. So this is just a little gray button. We've got a nice gradient background here. First thing I'm going to do is remove this background because, I don't really like it much. I want to start with something fresh. So one thing I'll do is I'll go to a CSS background generator so that you don't have to see me put together some fancy background. Okay, so I'll go to gradientmagic.com. We'll find something. My favorite color is definitely blue, so I'll just pick this one here. The CSS is copied to the clipboard. And I'll jump back in here to our body, and we'll dump that code in there. Bling, now I've got this nice blue background with some polka dots on it. Now, I don't really like this button. This button is kind of meh, right? It's just a gray button. Let's try making it bigger for one thing. If we just go into the button class here and we'll say width, let's make that big, and we'll go height 50 pixels. Okay, that's a little bit bigger. We'll give it a bigger font also. Okay, so now we have a button. Now, this isn't really animated. I mean, this is kind of the default standard animation you'd find in a browser. What I want to do is make this button look a little cooler. So let's start with some of the cosmetic stuff, right? We'll do a border radius on it. There we go. I still like rounded buttons. I don't know if they're even in fashion anymore, but I'm going to do that. Let's say, and you'll notice as I make these changes, all I have to do is click down here to see those changes. So if we want to do something like background color, let's change the background color. Now, many of my followers know that I'm not much of a designer, but I think I can make this look a little bit better than when we started out. So I will make this a darker color. Go here. How about this one right here? A little hex symbol on there. There we go. Now it's a little bit darker, but it kind of bleeds off into the background. So we may save that one for later. Let's go a little lighter. Perhaps the dark color was not the best call. And this is how easy it is to work with this challenge. CodePen is one of those really cool things where you can just kind of load it up and dump code and try things out. And it's a pretty safe little sandbox for doing so. Now we'll need to change the font color. Self. Go with white. That's a little bit better. Okay. So now we've got something that kind of clicks. One thing we can do is we want this button to change. So let's go ahead and copy this. Now we have button hover. And we'll take out all of these things that don't matter. Okay, now when we hover over it, let's see if we can make it change colors as we hover over it. We'll make it go darker. Take this one right here. Jump in. Let's see, background color. And again, I just click on this, and now when I hover it, it changes color. So that at least indicates that we're hovering over it, right? Now, what's another thing that we can do with this? We can make the button bigger. So that's one UI thing that I've seen before where the button gets bigger. It's actually super easy to do. We'll go into our button hover again. Transform. We'll go into transform, and we'll scale this up a little bit. For scale, I'd say 1.2. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's pretty cool. So it kind of jumps up and pops out at you. So my little button's looking pretty good. I'm going to change the text also. Something that'll make it a little more clickable, right? Press me, press me. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, cool. So what can we do with this next? Okay, let's put a little drop shadow on this. Now, there's text shadow and box shadow. This is a button over here. We can see button type. So we'll use box shadow. We'll just go with 5 pixels. And that looks kind of terrible. So we'll specify that we want it to be black. Okay. And now it's telling me I should save my work. So I'll save it. There we go. Okay. So now it gets bigger, but that black shadow is kind of meh. It's a little too sharp and a little too ugly. So here's one thing that's cool. You notice when I dumped in all of this CSS stuff here. I dumped this in from that CSS generator site, and it was ugly and it was all one line. As soon as I hit save, it formatted it all for me. So it looks like I wrote it in there and made it cool, right? But first, let's take the box shadow so that we can see it every time, and we'll move it up here to our button. We want the button to have the box shadow. Let's put a little bit of blur on it. Say like 15 pixels. There we go. There's some nice blur. Now, one of the things that we can do is we can change this box shadow when we hover over it to kind of give it a look that, maybe it is something moving, because the shadow's kind of moving with it, but maybe I want to do something a little bit different. So it kind of looks like it's coming up and it's coming at you. And we'll change the shadow based on that. We'll bring it up, let's say 7 pixels, and we'll make it just a little bit more radius here. There we go. So that kind of makes it look bigger, but I think I'm going to take it in because look a little more realistic. Because the shadow should move with the light. So okay, so now we've got some good animation here. We've got a nice little box shadow, press me. Okay, now what do we want to do when this is active? To make this active, let's take the box shadow completely out of this. Now the box shadow is gone. Let's scale it back down smaller. Look at that. So now it looks like this button is like in motion. It's in motion, it's moving, it's doing things. We hover over it, it gets big. And I'm thinking we should make it brighter, because if it's coming up, it's going to be closer to the light, right? So let's maybe swap the colors a little bit here. So we'll go in and say cut this one. Let's swap the colors and see what that looks like. There we go. And then when we click it, we can make it even darker. We'll make it real dark, like one of these here. So active, Make the color gray. There we go. So this is my entry into the coding challenge. I just wanted to kind of create a button that looks animated. You know, it's exciting, it's animated. So if we're going into a website and there's a press me, like press me to enter, we hover over it and we know that it's just begging to be pressed, right? Because it's, and then when we press it, you can visually see that this button is being pressed. And so I did all of this in these lines of code here. I can save it. My animated button. Okay, so now I've got my entry here and I want to show off my animated button and I want to submit it to the coding challenge. Here's how we do it. Click up here on settings. And in the tags, in CPC, click button, comma, CodePen challenge, and then save and close. Now I go back to codepen.io, click on challenges. Now if we go back to that original page and click on CodePen challenge, there's my animated button. And I can already see in some of the other entries here that they're probably a lot better than mine. But hey, what the heck? This is how easy it is to jump into the coding challenge for April. So send us your challenges. Tag us on social media, use the hashtag CodePenChallenge or FreeApril, and let us know what you're building. I hope that was a great introduction to our coding challenge. There's going to be a new one every week. I want to see what you make, and I'm hoping to see you at Tech Skills Day, April 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. See you there.